Today we are talking about something that every person in the UK has felt, whether they say it out loud or not. The system is broken. Not cracked, not strained, not under pressure. Broken. And if you've ever tried to get a GP appointment, support a mentally ill sibling, survive school, or afford a simple day out, you already know. This isn't a rant, this is a reality check. Let's start with the obvious. The NHS is collapsing. Not because the staff don't care, they care too much actually. Not because the doctors aren't skilled, they are some of the best in the world. And not because nurses aren't dedicated, they're working 12-hour shifts with no breaks. The NHS is collapsing because it's being asked to do the impossible. GP appointments are a lottery. You call at 8 AM. You are caller number 47. You wait. You get cut off. You call again. No appointments left. People aren't getting seen until they're already in a crisis. A&E is a war zone. 12-hour waits. Longer sometimes, a lot of the time. Patients on floors. Staff crying in supply. Cupboards. People dying in corridors. Mental health services are a ghost town. CAMHS waiting lists are longer than some prison sentences. Adults wait months for assessments. Crisis teams are understaffed. People are told to call back if it gets worse. But what if worse is too late? This is where it gets personal. Because it's one thing to struggle yourself. It's another to watch a younger sibling, a child, fall apart while the system shrugs. The CAMHS black hole, your sibling is self-harming, shutting down, refusing school, having panic attacks, losing themselves. You call CAMHS. They say, we'll add them to the waiting list. We don't have capacity. They're not severe enough. Or the worst one, they need to engage more. How is a mentally ill child supposed to engage with a system that won't engage with them? Then there's a family burden. You become the therapist, the crisis team, the emotional sponge, the one who stays up at night listening for movement, the one who hides sharp objects, the one who tries to keep the peace. You're 17, 18 years old, but you're doing the job of a professional, and the system calls it parental responsibility. The guilt. You love them. You want to help, but you are exhausted. You're angry at the system, you're angry at the situation, and sometimes you're angry at them, and then you feel guilty for even thinking it. This is what a broken system does. It turns families into emergency services. Right, let's talk about schools. The place that's supposed to be safe, supportive and stable. Except it's not. Overcrowded classrooms. 30 plus students, one teacher, no teaching assistants, no time for individual support. Zero mental health training. Teachers aren't trained to handle trauma, shutdowns, panic attack or neurodivergence, but they're expected to. Punishment over support. A child is struggling. Detention, isolation, suspension. Bad behaviour. No one asks why. The attendance obsession. Schools care more about attendance percentages than student well-being. Kids are dragged in when they're mentally unwell because it affects the data. Guys, one of the biggest reasons why teachers are so hard on about attendance for kids is because the school gets money for every single time a kid goes to school. And if that kid decides not to turn up one day, they lose a little bit of money. SEND support is a myth. EHCPs, they take years, schools refuse to apply, parents fight battles they shouldn't have to fight, and the kids who need help the most get labelled as problems. Let's talk about the cost of simply existing, right? Groceries, food shops, they are a joke. £2.50 for butter, £4 for a block of cheese, £1.50 for a loaf of bread. A weekly shop that used to be £50 is now £90. Rent is impossible. People are paying £800 to £1,200 for damp, mouldy, freezing flats. Landlords raise rent because they can. Young people can't move out. Families are overcrowded. Wages aren't keeping up. Minimum wage rises don't matter when everything else rises faster. People work full-time and still can't afford life. Public transport is a luxury. £4 for a bus, £7 for a train to the next town, £60 plus for a day out in London before you even buy food. Days out, they're for the rich. Theme parks, £40 to £70, if you're lucky. Zoos, £25 to £35. Cinema, £12 to £15. Nando's, for two people, about £60 to £70. Families cannot afford memories anymore, basically. Now this is the saddest part. People aren't just struggling to survive, they're struggling to live. School trips are too expensive. £30 for a museum trip, £200 for a residential, £1,000 for a once-in-a-lifetime trip abroad. Kids get left out because their parents can't afford it. Holidays are impossible. Even a cheap UK caravan holiday is £500 to £800. Flights, forget it. Hotels, out of reach. Families go years without a break. Fun? That's a privilege now. Everything costs money. Everything is overpriced. Everything is stressful. The UK has become a place where joy is taxed. Now here's the truth. The UK isn't failing because people are lazy. It's failing because the system is built on underfunding, understaffing, unrealistic expectations, outdated structures, political neglect, and a refusal to modernise. The NHS is collapsing because it's starved. Schools are collapsing because they're overwhelmed. Mental health services are collapsing because demand is skyrocketing. Families are collapsing because they're unsupported. Young people are collapsing because they're exhausted. This isn't individual failure, it's structural failure. Behind every statistic is a person. A mum crying in the kitchen because she can't afford food. A teenager having a panic attack because CAMHS won't call back. A nurse working 14 hours because there's no one else. A teacher breaking down because they can't help their child. A sibling trying to hold their family together. A young adult working full-time and still broke. This is the real UK. Not the one in speeches, not the one in adverts, the one we live in. It is not an amazing Britain. It's not. The UK system is broken, but the people aren't. We're tired, we're struggling, we're stressed, but we're still here. Still fighting, still caring, still hoping, and that's why this conversation matters, because nothing changes until people speak up. If you've lived any of this, you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. The system is failing, but you aren't. Like the video, subscribe for more deep dive essays, and take care of yourself, because the system won't.